You're looking at a live shot now out of Bloemfontein, where 8-year-old Olebogeng Mosime has been buried in Bloemfontein. The boy was mauled to death by a Pitbull in the Vista Park area last weekend. Our reporter on the story is Zikhona Tshona, who joins us now live. Zikhona, tell us what's happened so far.
Olebogeng Mosime was born on the 17th of May 2014. He passed away sadly last week, Saturday, on the 13th of November 2002. His little Spider-Man coffin has just been lowered and buried. His family has been inconsolable here at the cemetery. The service took place at the Apostolic Faith Mission Church, where he was remembered particularly for his performance academically at school. His teachers saying he's been performing well since grade R, and just last week Friday, day before he died, he received an award at school for being one of the top achievers in his grade. Remembered as someone who loved sharing, had a very kind heart, and someone who loves soccer and playing marbles. And just as this service continues, we are now moving to the tombstone unveiling part of Olebogeng's funeral service. He was his mother's only child. She is absolutely devastated. When I spoke to her yesterday, she says she's still trying to find words just to describe exactly how she's feeling. At the moment, she still can't believe that her only son is no more.
And Zikhona, as all of this is going on, you were also at the memorial service yesterday. Tell us what the school said further. I know this boy, Olebogeng, was a top performer, but a horrific way to lose a child.
Certainly, even today at the funeral, the school had a representative, the deputy principal of school, who said every day she would walk around the school and hug the little ones. And Olebogeng's hug is something that she's going to miss. She said his was just a little bit tighter, but he was someone who was excelling both in sport and in academics, did well in soccer. In fact, we heard yesterday at the memorial service that his grandmother had just bought him a new pair of boots for soccer, which she was very excited to make use of, but it was not to be. And the school was saying that they hope in his honor his soccer team will continue to do well. But also at the funeral service today, we heard from the deputy mayor here in Mangaung, who says that they are currently working as a government on tighter laws around dog ownership, not just that of pit bulls, but this has initiated a conversation and the drafting of laws in the municipality to tighten rules around dog ownership. They're speaking about licenses and people needing training, particularly if they're going to own dogs as vicious as pit bulls. And people, she says, that is Mapaseka Motobi Koyana, who's the deputy mayor here in Mangaung, saying that people might have to pay fines if their dogs are found to be on the other side of the law. But of course, that is something that this municipality is saying it's looking into and is hoping will be drafted into law as early as January next year.
And Olebogeng being killed by this Pitbull, a neighbor's dog, on Saturday, Zikhona, has also divided the broader Mangaung community, has it not? You've got, on one hand, Pitbull owners who've surrendered their animals to the SPCA, and on the other, you've got those who are saying, well, this one very tragic case does not mean that their pit bulls pose a danger to their neighbors and the broader community.
Certainly, and today those who did hand over their pit bulls to the SPCA were applauded by members of the community as well as leaders who spoke at the funeral, saying that they applaud their efforts in ensuring the safety of people, particularly children, in this community, but also the community of Vista Park. I'm just going to pause for the unveiling of that tombstone.
Rest in peace, Olebogeng Mosime. Born 2014, May 17, died 2022, 11/12. Rest in peace.
Of Olebogeng reading the message on the tombstone. Again, born on the 14th of November, on the 17th of May, 2014, and died on the 13th of November 2022. As I was saying, even the community in Vista Park, where Olebogeng is from and where this incident took place, very angry, very hurt by what has happened, and a lot of resentment in terms of knowing that people, they believe that this could have been avoided, it did not have to happen. A lot of talk today on the podium at the funeral service about neighbors caring for one another, looking after each other's children, and just being neighborly. We heard yesterday and this morning from Olebogeng's grandmother, who said she had repeatedly spoken to her neighbor, who is the owner of this pit bull, about keeping the dog away from them. But unfortunately, it's come to this. It's come to the end of such a young life. Someone who had big dreams. We know he dreamed of being a soccer star. He dreamed of being a doctor. And people were saying today that given his early academic excellence, those dreams were certainly going to be possible.
And just on that then, Zikhona, I mean, we're looking at the dates on that headstone. A child born in 2014. Think about how recently that was, now dead 8 years later. And when you say the Mangaung Metro is committed to doing more to regulate the ownership of dogs as pets, this is a community that will want all of that to be finalized quite quickly and to be consulted on better regulation, would it not?
Certainly, in fact, the promise that was made by the deputy mayor at the funeral was that from as early as January, they expect laws to be gazetted for stricter rules around the ownership of dogs. But as you've mentioned, this is someone who was born in 2014, so children are grieving here. Yesterday at that memorial service, his teacher, Mrs. Slavitt, said that this has been the toughest time for her in her 10 years of teaching. She says in any other situation, she had been able to support a grade 3 class through anything. She says this has been so hard on those learners, that grade 3 class of at Roseview Primary School, grade 3D, is absolutely devastated during this time. They could not make it to the funeral rather, but they were there at the memorial service, and they had a musical item to remember and honor their friend. But the teacher was saying to explain death to 8-year-olds is very difficult, because many of them have questions. This is someone that played marbles with them on the sports field. This is someone that played at break time with them, shared their lunch with them. And now she has to explain that he's not coming back anymore. He's no longer going to be present in physical form as their friend, but they can keep him in their hearts. But his grandmother was detailing such beautiful memories of her grandson, saying that he loved sharing. If he had crayons, he would make sure that he shares with a friend that does not have crayons. He would always come home with stationery that is missing, and explain to his grandmother that one of his friends at school did not have a pencil or a crayon, and he thought he should share. So he has been described as someone who had a really kind heart. Even his teacher yesterday saying he was a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to teach, someone who loved excelling in all his subjects, loved excelling even in his soccer, and of course his mother's only son. This tragedy, Tembekile, happened in full view, in the presence of his grandmother. And yesterday when we were speaking to her, she said she's still being haunted by his screams for help after that Pitbull took grip of him by the neck and dragged him to the gate. She says she will never forget his screams at the time when she was helpless, throwing at whatever she could at the dog to free her grandson.
Zikhona Tshona reporting from a cemetery in Bloemfontein, Mangaung Metro in the Free State this afternoon, where the family of 8-year-old Olebogeng Mosime has just bid farewell to their child, who died, as Zikhona was just detailing, in one of the most horrific ways in which you can imagine, mauled by a neighbor's pit bull. We will bring you more on this story later. For now, Zikhona, thank you very much for that heartfelt reporting.